It is Power Collaborations Wednesday. Kelly and
Hey.
Tracy are here. We back. We back, y'all. And
Yeah.
today we got a loaded topic. It's pretty loaded. Tracy and I have been talking about it, and I don't think this is going to be a one-time topic because we're like,
Nope.
yeah, this is loaded. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and
There are
as
different aspects, and
go, no, go for it.
no, I was just saying there are different aspects to it, and this is definitely gonna be just like a conversation, and whatever we come up with. But there are definitely various pieces of it that I think you guys should drop in the comments for us to follow ups, because there will be follow-ups, to
Yeah.
this particular topic, because it's so multi-layered and multifaceted.
Yeah, no, that you took the words out of my mouth. That was exactly what I was going to say. Y'all should definitely have questions and follow up on this one. So, like Tracy said, you can drop them in the comments. If you're not comfortable putting them in the comments, you can always DM them to either of us on any social media platform. So, we're going to jump right in. The question, as y'all see from the title, is what should you do when your partnership collides with your solo business? So I'll give an overview of what that means. And then I want to turn it over to Tracy and let her jump in first. So let's say Tracy and I are in partnership. We have a practice, Kommas and legalese. That's our practice. But
Mm-hmm.
Tracy still does legal work on the side at Tisdale Legal Group. I still do work on the side as a fractional CFO in Kommas with Kellé. Very similar. So right off the break, you guys can see the similarities in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to discuss are, what do the layers look like? Like, what does it look like if I secure business, Tracy and I are out at an expo or something, and we're there as Kommas and legalese, but then the person comes to me and only wants fractional CFO services.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so many layers. I mean, there's so many examples I can give. So we're going to start to dive into it, get a little deep, but not too deep, because we realize it's so
Mm-hmm.
loaded and we don't want to make this very long, and then come back with additional things to discuss around it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Tracy, let's start out. I don't know. You pick the lane where you want to drive it first.
So the safest lane is, we decided, we know, okay, we're going to do this. Let's talk about work in order, etc., before we actually pull the trigger. We can start there. The more practical approach thing is going to be like, hey, let's try this and see how, and we start doing things before we actually, put pen to paper. So in that situation, I think that's a more likely start, of where things are going to happen. Because again, when you're doing collaborations, when you're trying stuff, you try it first before you take on the expenses of getting the paperwork in order. So in that situation, you, using the example you got now, we're at this expo, you have a person approaches you and say, look, I just want the CFO, I don't really need the legalese at me. You try your best to pull them in, still sign whatever that is for Kommas and legalese, but it's all the CFO work. And we have our branding, we have the purple and type purple and pink color going, and what do we do? And I start catching feelings. So I'm like, hold on, you the one bringing in the money, but like, this was my idea for us to do this. How does this work? It's my colors, the purple and pink, all of that. That was the idea. So the bigger thing, and or we go there, we pay for it, the client comes and you sign them with Kommas, from Kellé, instead of the legalese and catching feelings. The question at that point, one of the big things that come up is, what is your fiduciary ability to Kommas and legalese versus Kommas with Kellé, right? Like, we both had our own business beforehand, but when you have a joint, responsibility or joint company, spend time and spend money in making that company grow. So what is your responsibility to take clients for Kommas with Kellé versus clients with, for us? So that's one of the bigger things that or one of the points where people are gonna knock heads. And it's, how do you navigate that? How do you have that conversation? Of course, again, the safe route is we talk about it beforehand. But to be a piece where you need to be mature, for lack of better phrasing, because when those things come up, you're going to have that conversation to say, okay, how does, the first client or so, you might let slip by. I might be like, all right, cool, whatever, like the person who needed it. But if that continues, one of the partners going to get, it's going to get in their feelings. And that may be the point where I may say to you, okay, let's put this in writing now. Like, let's talk about this before, we go any further, with it. But, I think part of the driving factor behind that is also going to be the numbers. It's going to be, if we both went in on this, conference, you go and you have your piece, I paid X amount, you paid X amount, and now here's a client that comes from it. How do we then figure out the numbers side behind? Even if you sign them with Kommas for Kellé, do I have claim to that person? Because I put that in there. Do I have claim to that income? And is there a conversation that was had? And if it wasn't, needs to be had about referring along those lines. If we do something joint, where it goes. So you have, say, I come to you, or you have a client that comes to you in that situation and say, well, I know I spent X amount. They only spent X amount, but the only clients we got from it went to them. Right. How do I go get that money?
Right.
Or how do we separate that money? Or what is a plan, say, moving forward? What does that look like? And for me, again, it's the contract. And we always, about it, blame it on the attorney. If you have someone for your own business that was doing it, and say, okay, my attorney's talking about, we need to get this, get this figured out. We don't have that attorney in space, and you have a client that says, hey, I tried this thing with this person. What's your kind of approach to how they deal with that?
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, from the beginning, you just you're filling it out. You don't want to spend a whole lot of money, invest a whole lot in it, because you're not sure if it's going to blossom to anything. But much to what you said, early on, don't let it get too deep. Early on, develop some type of financial system to track the stuff in, right? Even if it's just you guys managing your own QuickBooks Online account. So like in the example that I gave and we're speaking of, if you and I have Kommas and legalese, then we would have our own books to manage just Kommas and legalese. And all of the money we spend needs to come out of that bank account and those books. And all of the income comes into that bank account and into those books. Now, that's an easy thing you can do. That's not going to cost you as much of an investment as it will to get an agreement in place. The tricky part becomes what happens with me taking on business that is exclusively CFO, or you taking on business that's exclusively legal. And is that still Kommas and legalese, or is that just one side or the other? And does it roll to that? Because we really don't have a contract written in place, right? And that's when I think immediately you do have to jump into having a conversation with an attorney, or at least write something down on your own and have it notarized. Say, this is what
that's what I was just about to say. I'm like, it doesn't have to be a whole ass,
right,
contract. It doesn't need to be a 20-30 page document. As business people that are going into something, you think about those things and you can come up with something to say, okay, for now, here's going to be our basic piece. we are each agreeing to put in X amount of time or X amount of hours, X amount of money in it. And if we have a client that, we're going to do this joint marketing, we're all going to try to get the client, you can, get them in at whether it's a basic level for the joint process, and then you can upsell, for your various services, or you get them in individually and try to sell them, the joint process. But I don't want people to think when you're starting, it needs to be this big contract, all the legalese that I would put into it. It should be, at least get something based, a structure down, get the bones down to say, here are the things that we're going to look at. So the difficult things can ease your conversation, because then you can look at what did we agree to over here to use as a guiding, deciding factor for the more complicated things that come up.
Yeah, and have to also, as you're thinking about that, ask the hard questions even in that state, right? Like what we're talking about. What happens if someone only wants one or the other? In that situation, I would suggest you guys come up with some type of referral incentive for one another. So if they do decide that they only want one side or the other, then you pay 15% of whatever X time frame of services. Something like that. But definitely ask each other the hard questions while you plan nice in the sandbox. And don't wait until there's an issue to try to address it, because as we already know, emotions be high, be a whole lot happening. So to avoid that piece of it, ask the hard questions while it's still going great and y'all got this big deal that's about to happen and you're navigating it. But make sure that once you do that foundational, just written agreement that you guys have come up with and you've had it notarized, that you provide clarity, financial clarity across the board. That's going to be your saving grace and your best friend when it comes to dispersing, because you're going to talk about that in the agreement. How do you disperse the money out? When it comes to spending, what does that look like? And all of those, tax time, what does that look like? All of those different layers of it are things that you want to talk about. And the least investment that you can make out the gate is definitely, like I said, an accounting system. So I wanted to pivot a little bit about and talk a little about discussing when you're in this partnership space and you're trying to do your own solo practices, the IP parts of it, right? So like you said at the beginning, the branding, we're pink and purple and my colors are orange and blue. But you notice on my post that, the lines are blurred. Sometimes my posts on my Kommas page be pink and purple. And you're like, hold on, that's looking real comma and legalese branding. And people are drawn. And you guys, this sounds petty, but it's really not, because branding I don't know if Alicia's watching with us, but Alicia's one of our loyal folks that watches often. And she's a branding person. And you guys know there's an eye for that, right? Especially once your brand has built trust. So let's say Tracy's brand of Tisdale Legal Group has built the authority and trust of purple and pink, and people don't even really vet the stuff that she says anymore. They just pop on because they know Tisdale is the shit. And they end up coming to my page and accidentally having the conversation with me, fall in love with me, think they're talking on behalf of, and this is really Tisdale, but it's not. We move forward, and then they like, oh, hold on. Well, it's you. Okay, well, I still want you. I still want you. I fall in love with you. But Tracy, like, hold up. But they was drawn to my brand, right? How does one navigate that space from an IP perspective?
And so that will be part of the conversation. If you guys are going to do an independent color or whatever, independent branding, have the conversation as to making sure that there isn't a blur. Or if you start doing something, you're like, hold on, I really like this. Like, I like how this looks. I like people are reacting to it. Have that conversation as to, do we share in this 50-50? And if we share in it 50-50, what does that mean? Does that mean I can now go and use it as I see fit for my piece, or is it only 50-50 based on, Kommas and legalese? Um,
Mhm.
and if you do both independently want to use it for yourself, then what does that mean, profit wise? Are we releasing each other from any, liability, both liability and profits? Because in the example that Kelly gave, someone may come and think, okay, they're talking to, Tisdale Legal, and they get unhappy with whatever Kelly provides. Now they're going to come back and be like, hold on, no, 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 no. I thought, it was this. Or, Patrice, you're responsible. Um, I've actually seen that in the real estate space right now. There's a whole beef between DJ Envy and Flippin' NJ, who are real estate
I have
people.
seen that. Yep.
Yes. And is DJ Envy responsible because he appeared in these videos with Flippin' NJ, and that's what, drew people in making this investment. And now, shit has hit the fan, and who is, responsible, who's liable for the damages. So having those conversations, up front, with the IP, can I take this? And if I do take it, do I take all the liability and I waive Kelly from that liability? Or, does Kommas and Kelly, come with me in terms of the liability piece of it? So it is, as Kelly said, it sounds petty, but it's things that you should think about when you are when you're going into these ventures. I can't remember if it's McDonald's or Nike, but one of the bigger corporations, they don't play at all when it comes to their branding. Anything that looks anything slightly similar, they got their attorneys sending those cease and desist letters. They are willing to like drop a complaint very easily, because your brand is that's your word. So you have to be mindful when you do it. And if, when that success comes along, then having that conversation. Okay, how are we gonna do this? Can I use some of, Kelly with Tisdale Legal, and can Kelly do the
Right.
same? Or do we make sure that our brand is so much different than what our individual pieces are, so there won't be that blurring?
Right. Yeah, no, it is. And if you're just joining us, we're giving tips on what should you do when your partnership agreement or your partnership business aligns very closely with your solo business and the lines get a little blurred. And we're just giving tips on that. So if you have questions, comments, post them in the chat or the comment section, or DM us. And we said at the beginning, this is not a one-time topic because it's so loaded that I think we're going to carry it on, if not back to back, but it'll definitely revisit and research it at some point, to give more tips, especially as we see the questions coming in. With that being said, as we start to wrap, what about, so at the very beginning, while you're working this out, I'm very, very cautious of this. I think it's important that people realize how similar your brands can be when you decide to do these collaborations, right? So think from a safe space. And it's not that you got to think the worst that someone's going to steal your business, but it is hard when they're very, very similar. So I'll use myself as an example. I have been, well, I now have someone, but I was looking for a tax person to collaborate with, right? A lot of the tax people that are on the level that I need them to be for my clients also offered a similar service in addition to the tax piece. So I had to navigate that lightly when I made a decision on who I was going to partner with, right? And I kind of skirted around and was like, okay, I need somebody that's only in the tax lane because I wanted to be aligned, clearly delineated that you only do taxes anyway. We can go ahead and write in this contract that if you decide to do bookkeeping or CFO services, that you can't tip into my water. But the chances might be a little slim, especially I'm looking for people that are 10 plus years in the tax world. Usually when you that deep in the game, you're not going to start dabbling back over in a different area, right? So I shared that experience with you guys because think that far ahead when you're collaborating with people and think, okay, how close, if you're too closely aligned, you might just want to scratch it and only do maybe a referral agreement. Like maybe, let's say Tracy and I are both in the accounting space and offer CFO services. I could meet with someone in Discovery that is an awesome fit. I know they'll vibe way better with Tracy than they will with me. And I'm like, all right, Tracy, I got somebody I want to refer to you, and she could offer me a referral incentive, and we can do an agreement based on that. So consider those two, especially if you find somebody that's closely aligned with the same things you do.
Yep. That's definitely a really, really big point. Like, I don't want people missing that portion of it at all. I don't want them missing how do you guys align? You know, is it business? Is it vibing? Is it, and then how do you want to transfer that into business? So when you're looking at your factors, and I think we can do that quick recap with the factors. It's not just the financial and the legal piece of it as well. It's where you looking to to get work done, and be very, very explicit with each other, from jump. If you're going to do the same, using Kelly's story, you're going to look at doing, like I was looking at bringing on an off counsel to help with, some of the more real estate pieces. But I know where my strength is. And I'm looking, to your point, looking for someone that is way beyond, in their years. That's like, I ain't interested in doing all of this other piece, but you can be this, or, how they are going to approach each deal. Because again, aligning business wise, relationship wise, mentality wise. You don't have to worry that this person, to your point, you refer your client over there and they're going to be like, so, like, let me holler at you for a second. Like,
exactly.
No.
Exactly. So yeah, I just think that's an important piece too, that you don't always have to be 50-50, we partnering together and getting this formal agreement. It can be some type of referral incentive and just go on with that. And if I have a conference, I can invite Tracy to speak at the conference and pay her a speaking fee, or if it's her ideal audience, let her know, hey, the referral, you're going to get massive referrals from this, and she's willing to do it for whatever. But keep that in mind as you guys are out here picking up partnerships and standing in those waters or navigating in those waters.
And the pro-fee could be, it could be just a joint marketing agreement, right? You can say, okay, yeah, we'll market for each other, and it's X amount, per month, of course, if you have certain matrices that are being met. But you don't have to jump, gung-ho, full head in first with the full business piece, of things. But I think we can do a quick recap of the different points that people should think about when doing this. And then again, we can delve into things a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds like a plan. So gosh, I don't remember the order at this point, but we gave out a lot of
we'll just throw it out.
Yeah. So we talked about the branding and the color aspects. And how to handle that with one brand maybe being closely aligned or the lines blurring there. We also talked about just creating a clarity between your financial aspects of it. And what you can do from the foundation is create a business bank account for that partnership and a QuickBooks account that costs you little to nothing every month to have a clear line of the expenses. Whatever you do, do not take in all the expenses in one of y'all bank's accounts and try to figure the shit out, because it's going to be a mess and the shit going to hit the face. So do not, there's no reason to do that. I mean, that's just lazy. Other than that, I mean, it don't cost you nothing to get a bank account, right? Nothing. So at least that's when you just come up with, hey, Tracy, 20,000 for you, 20,000 for me. Let's put it in there. And this is what we're starting out with. And then I think the last piece, and you can fill in wherever I missed the gaps, is to sit down. You don't have to at the beginning spend a whole lot of money on legal, but sit down and write an agreement and have it notarized and ask each other the hard questions then. And tackle that. And then when you guys are ready and you have the money and you know this is a partnership that's lasting longer and long term like you wanted it to be, then step into the counsel, looking for counsel.
Yeah. And just to add to that, add on to that, some of the hard questions that you should be asking when you sit down to draft that, big agreement. How are clients, how much time are you devoting to it? Are you going to identify numbers, or you're just going to say enough time to actually make this successful? And then you can hash out what that context looks like after you've done it, for a little bit. How are clients going to be treated or divided? Are you going to look to see if you can funnel your separate clients into this joint agreement now? And then the liability, like if we come up with an idea where we're like, ooh, that's fire for both of our separate businesses, are we going to, allow each other to use that? Or do you want to say, no, what happens here, is this going to be Vegas? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and that's it. So those are some of the, from a legalese standpoint, some of the questions that you should look to ask when you are, sketching out your agreement. And again, a skeletal agreement is fine, but just have something as an idea, because if you go to litigation, and again, this is a whole nother topic, but if you go to litigation, you're looking at past practice, to say this is what the parties intended. So if you have something that can give somewhat of a roadmap for us to look back at, that makes it easier.
No, that's awesome. So I am going to introduce myself. I should probably trademark that. I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll turn it over to Tracy to do the same and close us out. Tracy, post your link in the chat so I can show everyone how to connect with you. I am Kelly, your fractional CFO and business financial strategist from Kommas with Kelly, where we show CEO entrepreneurs how to spend strategically to drive up profits, optimize productivity, and stay in your zone of genius. Stop burning yourselves out. Y'all doing the most, and it doesn't take all of that, right? We work with service-based providers, therapists, lawyers, business coaches, by taking on their bookkeeping and accounting and giving them strategies to learn how to do just that, how to spend to lessen your tax liabilities and drive up your profits for a sustainable firm that you actually love working in. My info is on the screen. You can go to bit.ly/KWK links, and everything is there.
Okay. And I am Tracy Tisdale, and it's professionally Patrice. I work with entrepreneurs and real estate investors in leveraging the law to their advantage. So we make sure that their contracts are tight, that whatever it is that they're looking to do, their pathway to that goal is minimal, legal bumps. We try to open up the door, but we do so by partnering with you I jokingly say we're the non-equity partner in your business. You pay us a monthly fee and we're good. And you call in, we talk about the different things that you're looking to do and think of the creative ways to make sure that you can get to that goal. So the link, Kelly just put up the link on Instagram. I'm at real_law_ESQ. But if you use associatetap.com/Tisdale Legal Group, you will see my other information there. You can reach out to me to talk about, the next steps of what you're looking to do. But if you're here to, bend the law, but don't break it, I got license I'm protecting. We can talk about it. So reach out at any point.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining us for yet another week of Power Collaborations. We will see you guys next week. And again, DM us, drop them here in the comments, whatever platform you're watching on. If you have any questions you want answered in regards to this topic or any other topics, we will see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.